So I'm gonna tell a tale of how I went from boom to boom boom. Boom boom. Okay, because everyone kept telling me that I could never grow my glutes to this and I could never grow my glutes to that, but I did. Okay, so I'm gonna share the tips and everything that I was doing and what not to do for your fitness journey if you're trying to grow your glutes just like I was and trying to figure it out. Okay, because I thought I could never do it, but here I am. Okay, so I will be dividing it into phases, everything you should, shouldn't do, what I was doing, so then you don't take 8 years to grow your glutes. Yes, it took me 8 years, but not because it takes 8 years, it's because I didn't know what I was doing, okay? Okay, so let's get into phase one, and I feel like we all fell for this. If you were not part of the 100 squats a day challenge that you saw on YouTube and Pinterest, well, I was a victim to it. And I did not know that this is considered something called endurance training, which actually shrinks your glutes. And I know some of you guys are gonna be like, but 100 squats a day, it gives you a pump. Okay, because this is my glutes when I was doing 100 squats a day, and yes, I sent that picture to everyone thinking that I was thick. Okay, no one could tell me anything, okay? And the only thing the 100 squats a day challenge gave me was knees hurting and little glutes, okay? Didn't do nothing, all right? Now, the way I was eating was actually horrific, okay? I was eating Doritos in the morning sometimes for breakfast. I would eat a sleeve of Oreos at 3 a.m., blah, 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 blah. I also fell into that, like, gimmick of, like, oh, don't worry, like, once you hit 18, blah, 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 your glutes are gonna grow, you're gonna be thick. No, okay? Also, just because you gain weight, it doesn't guarantee that you're gonna get it in your glutes, okay? That's just genetic, okay? If you're not genetically built like that, don't expect that. Phase number two is where I started adding just a little bit of more weight into my workouts. Was I hitting upper body like that? Barely. I was barely hitting upper body. I did start adding a little bit of weights to my lower body workouts. I was still doing squats, not 100 squats, but I was still doing a lot of squats and a lot of leg workouts, stuff like that. But my junk food was still not good. Now, during this phase, I did start prioritizing my protein just a little bit more. And what I ended up doing was I ended up growing my quads, okay? And the thing is that when you have long thigh bones or long femurs, right, the way that you do squats is gonna mainly target your quads. It is not gonna mainly target your glutes. So we're not looking at a significant amount of glute growth when you're doing your squats, okay? In general, I don't think squats are really good, but if you have a short femur, then you might have the real big benefits of like doing squats and it like, growing your glutes. I did have a little something coming through, okay? Yes, I was breaking my back in those pictures, but that's none of your business, okay? None of your business. Did I Photoshop my pictures here and there? Yes, because my glutes weren't big, okay? Don't judge me. But I did see some growth and I just felt like really, really good, okay? Now, phase number three is when I heard that you could lift very heavy and you can grow your glutes. Now, during this time, I also started adding glute day, and people thought I was insane, including my husband. He thought I was crazy because he was like, why would you add a glute day? And I was like, because that is the only way to get thick. Like, and the leg days weren't working. I was growing my quads and my hamstrings and a significantly faster rate than my glutes. So I was like, glute day, yum yum, okay? And this is when I saw a significant amount of growth. So mind you, I was already prioritizing my protein. I started adding glute days. I started heavy lifting and I saw this amount of glute growth that I had never seen in my life. And I was like, I'm that girl, I'm thick. And within a year and a half, even other people noticed my results. And I just thought I was that girl. And I do remember during this phase, someone came up to me and asked me if my glutes were real. And I was like, I made it! I made it! I made it! Now my glute days look like this. I made sure that I was doing hip thrusts. I made sure that I was doing calf glute bridges. I made sure that I was doing single leg hip thrusts. I wasn't really prioritizing form. I can't say I was, but I was prioritizing heavy lifting. But I did get a significant amount of results. So, now, during this phase, mind you, I was about 5 to 6 years already into my fitness journey. I would do 2 glute days, 1 leg day, and I would do 1 upper body day and 1 core day. And I did start doing low intensity, steady state cardio, which is like walking and stuff like that. That's gonna help you keep as much muscle as you can and lose body fat percentage. And I did do body recomp. Now, body recomp is when you lose fat, gain muscle simultaneously at the same time. I was drinking water, I was hitting my protein, I listened down the junk food because I was a junk food addict. I started doing hypertrophy training for my glutes. I did endurance training for my upper body with low weight, high reps because my back grows way too fast. Okay? All right, and I only hit back once a week. Now, I thought this was all I could grow, you know what I'm saying? I was already like, well, throw in the towel, this is it. Now, during this phase, I was on a slight surplus, meaning that I was on a 200 calorie surplus 4 to 5 days a week. And I would go back on a maintenance on the other days, right? And sometimes I would just go back on a maintenance regular because I was doing body recomp. So I did make sure that I was eating mainly real food, and that is very important. You guys got to eat real food. Because you know what I'm saying? Now it does take time in the kitchen, I'm not gonna lie, but you could ingredient prep, which I like to do that. I could make another video about how I do that, but you can ingredient prep. Now I did get really busy around this time, so what I would do is that I would do my upper body days twice at home with a dumbbell because it's gonna be endurance training, so I could just do it at home. And my lower body, I would do it at the gym, and I would make sure that I went to a gym that was 24/7, so then that way if I just finished studying or I just finished this, I could just boom, go 30 minutes, you know, an hour at the gym. Now this last phase, this is when I saw the craziest growth. This is where everyone saw the growth. Like from November of last year to November of this year, the amount of glute growth that I got was insane, unexplainable, like it's crazy. So let's get into what I did that broke my growth, and I was like, girl, this is what I noticed. My husband took a video of me working out, and I was like, girl, why the heck your back and your glutes blend in? Now, I know that it could be worse because mine was worse before, but still, it was like, I feel like I should have a lot more separation. So that's why I started doing upper glute, lower back workouts and trying to get a shelf. But I also recorded myself, and I saw that my glutes were square, SpongeBob SquarePants up in there, okay? And I wanted them round teardrop shape. So this is when I started adding upper glute, lower back workouts, and I started adding more hip strengthening workouts or like side glute-ish area workouts, okay? And I know a lot of people are like, that's gonna make your blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're gonna get into it, but I started adding clamshells specifically for my hips, and I started adding more of the started adding more good mornings into my workout routine, and that grew my glutes significantly. Now, cast glute bridges, I started also prioritizing them because they target that area that I wanted. And it was chef's kiss because I was able to lift heavier and feel my glutes during it, okay? Which is really important because listen, one of the things that I changed is that before I was prioritizing heavy lifting, okay? And even though that does give you more strength, that is not good for hypertrophy training. Because for hypertrophy training, what you want to do and what you want to prioritize is your muscle to mind connection, your form, and progressive overload, okay? Now, like I said, hypertrophy training, you're supposed to lift moderate to heavy weight. What does that mean? That means that you're not supposed to lift so heavy that your form is off, that you can't even feel it in your glutes. You're feeling the hip thrust all the way in your neck. You're feeling it in your eyeball. No, okay? You gotta lower down that weight. So I went from lifting 310 pounds-ish around there for my hip thrust to just putting 245 plates, and that is it, and calling it a day. I also started focusing more on form. If my form wasn't right, I would change the weight because form has to be prioritized. Muscle to mind connection, meaning you have to feel the workout. You have to feel the workout where you're trying to grow. So if I couldn't feel it in my glutes, I would change it up. I would do something different, okay? Now, I was also doing something called supersets. Supersets is when you do a workout back to back. This is one of the ways that I would progressively overload, which is, you know, fatiguing the muscle, et cetera, stuff like that, and challenging it, right? So I would do, for example, hip thrust, and right after my hip thrust, my cast glute bridge set, and then I would take a 1 to 2 minute break-ish around there to give it a rest. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, I can do more reps. If you could do more reps and you're trying to hypertrophy train your glutes and you could do more reps than 15 at most in your set, it's time to increase the weight, okay? Now, I also started doing the movements slow and controlled, okay? Slow and controlled, not fast, not Speedy Gonzalez, okay? Calm down. Relax. You don't need to do it that fast. You want to do it slow and controlled. That way you can have a better muscle to mind connection. That way you could progressively overload and fatigue that muscle. That way you can hypertrophy train. Okay, it comes right around the circle, right? Another thing I started prioritizing was I started prioritizing my protein, okay? I used to play around with my protein here and there. There would be phases. And I made that easier by making sure that my breakfast had the most protein, okay? So I made sure that my breakfast was maybe like eggs with a little bit of ground turkey or a little bit of chicken from the night before. because I feel like if your breakfast has the utmost protein, maybe 30 or 35 or maybe 40 grams of protein, it's just gonna make it easier. Now, if your stomach can't handle that, that's okay, girl, that's okay. You can just make your lunch like something like that, but there has to be one meal that has a significant amount of protein. That way, you could get it going. Also, I started prioritizing my sleep. I made sure that I was sleeping the full amount of time. If I didn't, I would take a nap. Why? Because your muscles need to rest. And you cannot, okay, cannot just be going off of no sleep. Now, there's a couple things that is missing in this video, like hormonal belly, stress belly that I went through, and a couple things. But if you want to hear about more, or there are other questions that you have in your fitness journey, leave a comment below. I hope this video helped. Like and subscribe. Bye, queen.